Town Park Commission meeting of June 19th, 2018. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
There's one there.
Use the picture.
There's one out there.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Falanka,
Here.
Commissioner Rosenberg,
Here.
Commissioner Salanitro,
Here.
Commissioner Cohn,
Here.
Commissioner Hurd,
Here.
President Zuckerman.
Here. Our first item is adoption of the minutes. We have two sets of minutes, one from the special meeting / budget workshop of 31 May, and the other is the previous regular meeting of May 15th. If there are no changes or objections, may I have a motion and a second to approve both sets of minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public comment on non-agenda items. Does any member of the public wish to speak on items not on the agenda?
Just point of order, my comments would be on.
Please go to
Oh,
the
got a
mic.
mic.
But it's just,
There's a mic right there.
The mic over.
doesn't require, will I be allowed to make comments on agenda items?
Yes.
Pull up your PowerPoint, Russ.
That would never work. Russ Gold, Hayward Place in Rye. I want to speak to two specific items. One is the sand redistribution project that was sort of partially completed at the beginning of the season. As you know, it was started very late, and it didn't seem like we put enough adequate resources to it, and as a result, the whole north end never got touched. It's come to my attention that maybe as a result of that, maybe not. I don't really know because I'm not the expert here. Is that the beach tractor and rake has not been able to successfully make any passes up and down from the north side, from the lifeguard shack north. So, and even on the south end, and again, I don't know if this is a result of the sand redistribution, but the tractor is repeatedly getting bogged down, stuck. So it's not effectively combing the beach like it's supposed to. So on the north end, we have all these tidal lines with all the seaweed, and the seaweed I'm fine with because that's what's in the sea, but all the litter, plastic and other things that are enmeshed in the seaweed are not being collected. All right, and the sand on the north end is all the way up against the wall. It's maybe about 2 or 3 inches from the top of the wall, where it normally should be like 2 to 3 feet below the top of the wall. All right, so it just never got touched. I don't expect at this point, and maybe I shouldn't be giving you the out. I don't know what to expect whether it can be accomplished at this point in the season to bring sand moving equipment, but I just want to let you know that it was never done. And I think maybe, I don't know if Lawrence can attest to this or not. I don't want to put him on the spot, but this new tractor that we bought a couple of years ago and the new beach rake and stuff like that are just not effective at this point in the season.
Is there another, you have a second point
I
that
do.
you want to speak to?
But
Do you want me to address
Yes.
that point now?
sure, if you'd like to.
Happy to. Of course, the raking and the tractoring of the sand happened so late, in large part because of the weather that we had in early spring. The Westchester County did come and help us smooth the sand at the north part. In fact, they were to handle the north up into the lifeguard booth, and I know that the tractors were there working. So to the extent that they did not do an adequate job, we can take a look at that. And it was our effort to save a considerable amount of money to do a shared services arrangement with Playland. So that is the issue. With regard to the tractor and the beach rake, we're well aware that it is getting stuck, and I've been informed that it's been getting stuck for years, and it is as a result of having the wrong set of tires. So we're now looking at the possibility of replacing the tires with tires that were meant for sand.
Again, I don't think I'm necessarily in a position to debate this with you. However, I find a number of the things that you said that I heard you to say, I don't believe are actually accurate. I don't believe that any sand was moved around on the north end at all. I don't think the tractors were there. All right, right.
It wasn't done properly, and there was still too much sand, but they definitely were there. It was the week before we opened up, the week before.
And I know the large rocks that are over there are still completely covered, so you bump into them when you go. They're nothing. It really very minimal sand has been moved. And then on the second part is that the tractor has been effective in years past. So I don't know why the tires are all of a sudden of an issue. But again, I'm not the technical expert here. I don't really want to debate it. My next concern or issue is...
Before you get
yeah.
to that, one comment on the sand. I don't think there's any reason why we can't redistribute the sand even at this point.
Yeah. Again, I don't know whether it makes sense or it's
Maybe we can make that
or it's
we
logical
can
to-
make that inquiry.
You should bring heavy equipment in during season, but again, that's
Well,
up to you. It's not up to me. You know?
We could do it if we have to do it. We could do it on a time, during the week, obviously, and hopefully when we have more of a cloudy day through the weather forecast, and we'll close that part of the beach. That's the least used part of the beach anyway.
Mhm.
So we could close that for a day or two during the week to accomplish that if we can bring in the equipment.
Again, it's just the amount of litter that continues to accumulate at that part of the beach.
No,
Yeah.
I personally didn't notice that. You're on the beach more than I am, but I am on the beach a couple of times a week.
Right.
So,
You're in the water, you're not on the beach.
yes.
Can I just add that we walk, out the playground and back, in non-beach season, and it was obvious that the county end was much cleaner of seaweed than ours, and it's the same body of water. So there definitely is a problem with picking up the seasons.
We try to do it manually, especially in the south by the seawall fall belt.
Yeah.
It's a job, and it's very heavy, so we had to still get a vehicle out there and set up all the debris.
We can discuss this offline. Okay, we all now acknowledge that there is some problem, so the next step is to solve the problem, okay? And we will work on it.
And my second concern is the roadway in the park that's primarily used by patrons' cars in the overflow parking area. And if you're familiar enough with the park, it's the part of the road that is on the west side of the pond, adjacent to the pond on the west side from the north, from south to north. So when you come in, that took a beating in the spring and winter and spring, and it got severely rutted. There was a big depression. It was filled with water for a long time. It finally dried out, but again, the ruts are still there. But the solution, and I don't know whose idea this was to fill the ruts and the hole with sand and debris, literally debris, that was picked up from the beach. So when I saw this occur, when I brought it to the attention of Sal and Hippolito, they knew about it and they apologized for it, and they went in to try to sift out as much litter as they could, but there's still a lot of litter there, and that's not how to repair a road. So,
Agreed.
and that's the most heavily traveled part of the park. So,
Lawrence, is
just want to say.
that a fact?
That's the first time I'm hearing about this.
Okay, so let's check into it,
I walked
okay?
in there, didn't really see debris in the piles like to look. I know one day they did fill it in, but
All right,
I'll
look,
check it out.
Russ is there all the time. He sees it. He's reporting it to us, so now we know about it. We should take some action.
Multiple.
One big depression that was sort of on the south end of the road by the dumpsters. just before the
Dumpsters?
and then before. And
Right.
then north of that, all these ruts that I tried to fill in.
And park management report. Does, Lawrence, do you want to give an oral presentation, or is the written presentation in the packet sufficient for the commissioners?
That's fine with the rest.
Commissioners, okay, thank you. The draft financial statement, is there any questions on this? I think it's too early in the season, frankly, to gauge whether or not.
Very early in the season.
How we're doing. Restaurant progress report.
Chris Serace called me this evening. He was planning to be here and was called upon to head to the other side of the county to pick up equipment for the contractor. And so called to say that he was not going to be able to be here in person. His report was primarily to say that they are working full out and fully intend to be open in early July. That's still their plan.
And the food truck is in operation now? I know
It
that
is.
we had some problems.
The food truck is back in operation. It was re-inspected before noon on Monday. It is open, and I actually had I went to the office and met our food inspector and had a long, friendly conversation with him today. So he has my cell phone number, I have his cell phone number.
Good.
Question about the construction. Don't they have to go through the City of Rye process?
And they are.
Oh, they are?
Oh, yeah.
So how are they
I
doing?
was also in the planning department today.
So how are they doing construction then?
They're, well,
Do they have a
were-
building permit?
You know, I assume so. I know that it's being inspected by, I know that it's being inspected by the city of Rye. I spoke to both the
Okay.
city planner and the inspector today. Everybody seemed to feel that it's bumping along the way it should.
We promised expedited treatment if they
Okay.
got demolition and construction plans in simultaneously, which I guess they did.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good.
Could I
Yes.
comment on the restaurant? That was one of the things I came. Sure.
State your name and into the microphone, please.
Hi, Philip Horner. I live in Beach Avenue in Rhinebeck here. And, you know, I've come to the board a couple of times over the last years with certain concerns about particularly the beach part of the park. And my wife and I were over there on Friday to see what was going on and how it looked and everything. And we chatted with a fellow who said he was an employee of the restaurant company. And we asked about the snack bars, the 2 snack bars. And he gave us an answer that, oh, there's problems with the Board of Health, and we don't think we're going to get those open, and the truck is going to be there instead of the snack bars. I don't know if that's true or not. It would be a concern. I mean, the people on the beach, to walk up above and beyond, you know, to try to get to a truck, I don't think is a great alternative. But is that a fact that you're not going to be able to use the snack bars this year?
That is definitely not the plan. The plan
Okay,
is that
what you were
the,
just saying, that you had been talking to somebody about, was it the Board of Health or somebody? You just said something that I can't hear too good.
I did. I said that the truck had been closed over the weekend and reopened on Monday.
Okay, yeah, he was open on Friday when we were there. I mean, it's a
Yeah,
nice
yeah.
truck. I mean, I have nothing against it particularly, but we want to see that even if they don't get finished construction on the restaurant, that they get the snack bars open. They weren't open last Friday.
No, the restaurant facility is undergoing work.
Well, no, I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he seemed to think that they would not get it open by the 4th of July weekend, which was a public, you know, announced target.
Mm-hmm.
So it may be a couple of weeks beyond that,
You
I
know,
guess.
I don't know who you were talking to. I
Yeah.
don't know what he
Okay.
thinks he knows.
Okay. Well, I'm just reporting in, you can check it out.
Thank you.
And,
We could check with the owners,
But-
okay,
but-
and Debbie, we could check with the owners, and Debbie said that they expect to be open in early July. To me, that could mean July 4th, but could also mean July 10th. So I do not know. I'm sure that they would love to be open by July 4th, and we would love to have them open by July 4th.
well, there's a
So-
distinction between the restaurant, they've
No, I
rebuilt-
think they're probably talking more about the snack bar than the restaurant. They need to get food service to the beach. We all understand that.
Yeah,
That
okay.
has to happen.
No, okay. Is the truck going to be there after the snack bars reopen? Or
No.
is that's just temporary?
Correct. That truck is there specifically to provide food and beverage to the park goers while there is no restaurant in operation. As soon as we have a facility to serve people properly, the truck is gone.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Horner. The resolution to implement a Rye-Town Park policy regarding facility rentals by established religious organizations, and I think the key word in that is established.
Skip resolution number 1.
Pardon, did I? Oh, I did, I'm sorry. I'm scrolling down too quickly. Yes. The resolution to adopt the 2018 operating capital budget as amended. We've had much discussion about the budget, including a special budget workshop, and I believe that we are ready to now vote on the budget. If there are any further comments, first, let's have a motion and a second. If there are any further comments, we could take it at that time.
So moved.
Second. Okay. Discussion by members of the commission? Mr. Horner, you had your hand up. Do you have a question
I have a couple of points to make on the capital budget.
on the capital budget?
Yes.
Please.
Okay, I'm a former controller and budget guy, so I kind of kept an eye on this thing over the years. I've made comments to the board in the past about the capital budgeting process. I had a couple of points and questions. Between the first and the second, or actually multiple versions of the capital plan. I had one that went back to March. It shows the ramps. Originally, there wasn't much of anything in for that, and now there's $550,000. That's been it's on page 97 of 137. I'm looking at the 3-year recap, and that's, I know you're well aware, that's been a sore point. We know we haven't been handicap accessible, and now it looks like you have a plan. Is that a fact? Is it, there's a specific plan for this?
Yes, there is a plan that's been drawn. I wouldn't say it's a final plan. It's not construction drawings. And we're seeking 2 separate grants, one from the state and one through the CDBG program, Community Development Block Grants. They both qualify. Whether we get either or both of those grants, we won't know until the end of the year, probably. Nevertheless, we've made statements in the past. We know that we need to make the ramps handicap accessible. And I've made a commitment to seek funding both through grants and through possible commission expenditures directly, which of course would have to be approved by the commission. But we are well aware that we are not compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act, and we are doing everything we can to make the park compliant, and I think it's one of the goals of this commission to make not only the the ramps compliant, but also one of the other things we're applying for is to make the bathhouse compliant, because that is a semi-public facility, and, the bathrooms, as well as any parts of it that the public has access to, need to be made compliant. We are aware of that, and we're doing what we
Yeah,
can
because-
to do that.
That was the other $500,000 project, the renovation of the bathhouse, the permanent office, and the bathrooms. We've made points about the bathrooms
Mr.
before.
Warner, that is absolutely correct.
When you're doing that, does it include adding a changing area? I mean, we're probably the only beach in the world that you don't have a place where you can change your clothes. We
It
point,
would most definitely contain a changing area.
okay,
Yes.
good.
That
and-
will be up to the architect to design, Lisa Easton.
Okay. And then, a free advice comment. When you do high priority, medium priority, and low priority, I found very often that if something isn't high priority, it's, sometime, someday, some way. I was wondering how much of a commitment for doing something this year on those two particular projects, the bathhouse and the ramps. And I think you just said that you're not going to get to the ramps this year at all. You have to round up funding. So that means it's at earliest, you're going to spend the money next year. So why are you listing it under 18?
Well, it's in the plan for 18. Those things, as you're familiar with budgeting, those things can shift. That's to me, and I think most of the other commission members, that is a high priority item. We've been talking about that. In fact, this commission has been talking about that since long before I became a member of this commission.
Yeah, I know.
And I think Paul and Benny will probably remember how far back that goes. They've been talking and talking and talking about it. We're doing something, but you can tell by the expense that this is not an inexpensive item, but nevertheless, it's something that has to be done, and we know that.
Okay, so you have my advice.
Thank you, Mr. Warner.
And one last point about something that's missing that I brought up before, and that is the condition of the toilets at the end of the tunnels off the beach. They're really dilapidated, unuser-friendly, let's put it that way. And I don't see anything in here to address that at all. I'm sorry to see that. I don't know if you have any comment.
No, but we could add it to the capital budget in the future.
Yeah,
The capital budget, as you know, is mostly a wish list. And nothing gets done unless the commission votes to expend the funds to do it. But I would not have, I wouldn't suggest adding it at this particular time. We'd have to look into it and get a projected cost of that. But we're happy to do that. That's an excellent suggestion.
Okay, thank you.
Any further comment? If not, please call the roll.
Well, sorry, I just wanted to add a question. I know we talked about removing some things from the capital plan. but
As
they-
amended, yes.
As amended.
The smart pole listing is eliminated.
You know why? Public Wi-Fi.
And the public core Wi-Fi system.
That's on the same,
It's the third line down under external communication infrastructure.
yes.
And then this is just a question also, relatively new to these kinds of budgets. So the $800,000, for example, for the seawall with the 90% FEMA reimbursement, we capture it as the 800,000 and it just is a good day if we get that reimbursement. Is that how it works?
Well, let's put it this way. I don't think we're going to be doing it if we don't get the reimbursement. And in fact, I just got communication today from the engineer's office that we're still waiting final approval from FEMA. But I also know that Beth Evans is going forward with her getting the DEC approval. She's filed the papers with that. So once we get that approval, and we're waiting because there was a change of scope. Actually, the scope was modified down, if you'll recall, and that was as a result of the predecessor Rye representatives on the commission requesting that it be modified. And we're just waiting approval. But
And then-
I could safely say that we are not going to be spending $800,000 of commission money to repair the seawall. I don't know what we would do, but I don't think that that's happening.
Okay.
And by the way, just as an adjunct to that, I've written letters to all of our federal representatives, both congressmen, men and women, and the 2 state senators, requesting additional funds to cover the local share of any of these grant programs to see if we can get even more money out of
Great.
the federal government. So we're trying every kind of which way to raise funds that don't have to be raised through our town and city tax base. We're at the roll calling stage.
Commissioner Falenka?
Yes.
Commissioner Rosenberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Salanitro?
Yes.
Commissioner Cohn?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurd?
Yes.
President Zuckerman?
Yes. Now we're on to the policy regarding facility rentals by established religious organizations. This is a discussion that was had previously. And does anybody wish to comment on this? As written, I know, Josh, you had a view.
I do have a comment. I'd like to add just a little bit of language to it to make clear that we're talking about organizations that have actually been accepted by the IRS as 501c3s, as opposed to organizations that say, well, I fall within the definition, but they've actually never applied. So I would like to insert the words accepted by the IRS as following religious organization in the first line and before the word covered.
In the top line?
I'm sorry, in
Top
the
line of the third paragraph?
in the third paragraph,
You
yes,
mean
top
shall
line.
mean any religious organization, and now you're inserting,
Accepted by the IRS as covered under and defined in.
okay. Is that change acceptable to the
I
commission?
second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Wait a second. I'm looking at the second paragraph, we talked about, if I recall correctly, that first of all, I think we talked about that the religious organization had to reside either in the city of Rye or the town of Rye, and that's not made clear in this resolution.
Okay, first, let's vote on that change, well, and then we'll address your change.
Well, we can just vote as amended at the end. I have another question about
Okay.
that. And then, I thought that we voted that religious organizations would be given free use, not at a, what does it say here? As a nonprofit rate.
It says both. It says hold their services for free.
Oh, for free and pay only nonprofit.
Yeah, I'm confused by
I
that.
don't understand that. For free, hold their services for free and pay only the nonprofit rate
For an event.
for
For any other event.
what does that mean though?
What's the
Services are free and events like social, church time, or
Right, a church party, a synagogue. Party,
baptisms.
other
I
than-
think we talked about parties like that.
Right.
That's right. Okay, can we just clarify that in the resolution, please? And we don't talk about anything about parking in this resolution either, and I believe that we discussed that as well.
Your memory is good, I didn't recall that. So what, would you like to suggest language?
To make it easy, establish it in the second paragraph, the ability to hold their services for free.
I'd like to change for free to without
Without
cost.
fee.
Without cost, or
Without
whatever
fee.
you want to say.
Without fee. Good word, Denny. Without fee.
And then say, and pay only the nonprofit rate for, I don't know, if we start talking about events, can someone clarify how we put that into the resolution? Because anything is an event. Anything that they do is an event.
Anything other than a religious service.
Okay.
Non-religious service events?
No, I think,
Any
We're
event
heading on
other
down a
than a
slippery
religious
slope, I
no,
feel
I
like.
think, I think that's good as it is. You had another change, Paul.
Well, we talked that the parking, hold their services and their for free. You know, what I would tack on to the end of that paragraph, and members attending the religious service shall park for free. But then you want to say, you know, if they're going to an event, they shouldn't park for free.
Correct.
So, however, I mean, I think Jeff understands what we're trying to do, and he can amend it with the language that meets the spirit of that.
I think we also talked about some blackout dates as well.
How about without, hold their services and park without fee.
Okay? And Benny was right. We also talked about blackout dates.
Right.
Because we're not going to, obviously, we're not going to do Memorial Day, 4th of July weekend, Labor Day weekend.
Well, even more,
Hold on. I'm sorry. What if a group comes early in the season and goes to the office and says, I want to book every Friday night, you know, for the season, to hold services? And are they getting both pavilions or just one pavilion? That was the other thing that was discussed last time, is
I
that,
don't-
is the adjacent pavilion also being, prohibited from rental?
I'd like to suggest something, that let us go back to the videotape.
Yeah.
Let Jeff and I revise the resolution, bring it back for July.
I was just going to suggest we table this till July. Okay.
What are you going to do, though, because I know of at least one religious organization that typically does 2 events per summer, and I would guess that the first one is going to be coming up before the next meeting.
Well,
I have no idea when it
I
is. but-
believe that that's a religious service.
Yes.
So that would fall under this. So I think this is a case of no harm, no foul. Well, we're making the policy for now because that would follow this. That's something that would definitely fall under it. So we're going to have to let the administration administer. Debbie, on your shoulders. Lawrence, on your shoulders. And we will come back. We've never had a formal policy. Now we're working on a policy. There are a lot of questions. We'll table it for 1 month. Is that
Okay.
agreed?
Yep.
Okay.
Is there a published nonprofit rate? Because
Yes, there is. It's half.
it's half of everything, half of parking, half of beach access, half of pavilion?
It's, the nonprofit rate is half of the pavilion rentals, and Lawrence, help me with that. Is it $2 per car for parking?
I wouldn't know, but I would assume it would be $2 a car.
I believe that's what it is.
Do we have a policy on that? Since we're dealing with policy, should we memorialize the nonprofit rate?
I thought it was in our fee schedule.
It's not in the fee schedule.
All right, let's review the fee schedule. We'll bring that back for July as well. Okay. This item is tabled without objection until the July meeting. Our next resolution is a discussion and resolution to offer discounted park entrance and parking fees for first responders on Wednesdays during the 2018 season. Who wants to tell us how this came about? Debbie?
Yes, this is the suggestion of our head of security, Larry Miano, who brought up at an early spring staff meeting that it would be nice to do something for our first responders. We took a look at beach admissions and realized that our 2 lightest days are Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And so the suggestion was that we give this a try to see if we can raise our park goership, park usership. In the middle of the week when beach admissions are lower, they dip, and at the same time show some appreciation for our first responders. And they're a good client base to encourage.
Who are first responders? Is that fire, EMS, and police? Is there anyone else?
There is actually. After 9/11, President Bush declared first responders to also include DPW workers. I know that as a DPW professional, and that was one of the things that the President declared after 9/11. So unless that definition wants to get amended, DPW workers have also been recognized as first responders.
So we should have a little list in here.
Yeah, Mayor.
So you've got fire, EMS, police, and DPW.
Question just for the communities, right, kind of right, city right, or for any first responder?
New York State,
Question on it.
with photo ID and one significant other.
A question on that. By adding DPW, I don't know what type of identification a DPW worker has.
I don't know. I love our DPW guys, but I
my only
think that we should limit it initially to fire, police, EMS. I mean, that's what we normally think of. I hate to be, I don't want to discriminate against our DPW people, but
I'd say let's get them in there.
I disagree. I think
let's
that
get
if
him
they're
okay, I'm not
included
voting.
by the
I see, I'm
president.
not voting. All right.
No, again, no, it's just that, what type of identification that do they have to enter the beach to show that they are a member of either Rye City, Rye Brook, Portchester?
Don't they have photo ID
Some do.
from
Not
their
in
municipalities?
Portchester, so I
We gotta go
can
on
vote
good
for
faith.
anything else.
But it's only on 2 days.
It's only one day. If you, I'm not objecting to it. I just say, just don't want anybody to come in there and say I'm with DPW and walk into the beach.
No, they need photo ID.
It's only Wednesdays.
I'm a fan.
So, Fritz, I guess you're going to have to issue photo IDs.
No, you're gonna have to.
No.
I'm only teasing.
Right.
I'll
Any
make a
further?
motion on it then.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Call the roll, please, Debbie.
I'm sorry, who was second? Was that Paul?
Yeah.
Commissioner Falanca?
Yes.
Commissioner Rosenberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Salanitro?
Yes.
Commissioner Cohn?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurd?
Yes.
President Zuckerman?
Yes. Next resolution is to establish the Rytown Park Open Water Swim Program for the 2018 season. I think we've discussed this informally. I've mentioned it to each of the commissioners. The resolution is it's self-explanatory. The purpose is to provide a place for people to safely swim open water. And that means possibly going out beyond the jetty. Right now, we have ropes that cordon off areas, and the lifeguard maintains the safety barrier within that and does not allow people to go out. However, there are various athletic groups, triathlon groups especially, that do open water swimming further out, and they've been doing it for years apparently on an informal basis. And this program does two things. It brings some form of regulation where there apparently was none, and yet it encourages people to have the freedom to go out into the water. I think it also offers the possibility of other programs, whereas this is an experimental program. We've had inquiries from other organizations such as Soul Riders, who would want to conduct clinics for children. The Rye Y may wish to conduct clinics for children. The groups that are actually kind of co-sponsoring this include the Rye Triathlon Club, the Rye Y, Westchester Triathlon. There's another, yes, I should say, Lifetime Athletic Tri Club. Russ is involved with it. Who am I'm missing some people.
Oh, the Masters.
A Masters Swim, right, the Masters Swim program. So there are a whole bunch to start, and it's limited to evenings from 6 to 8 when the beach is normally not very well used. Each participating group will be accompanied by at least one lifeguard on a kayak, and that's basically their own lifeguards. And
Do we, I mean, is it a group of 40 with one lifeguard, or a
No,
group
they're-
of 6 with
they're-
one lifeguard?
No,
And
it-
do we want to say something about the number?
no, because each group is different, and apparently, according to Mark Asada, our lifeguard captain, you have to have a certain number of lifeguards per participant, and that's maintained. The Rye Tri, for example, sends out at least 2 lifeguards with their people.
And we'll also have a lifeguard with rescue equipment on the beach.
Yeah, that's an addition. Our lifeguards will be on duty on the beach. They will not accompany.
Do we know that each program has
We do.
what seems to be a sensible rule, like
We do.
the one you've described?
We do, and I myself am now a participant in fair disclosure, and I've seen it
No
myself.
special permit for
I'm
you,
I'm
Gary.
glad that you're thinking about recusing yourself. Anyway, question for,
Oh, wait, let's understand. I have purchased my own permit through the park, and I'm entitled to full use of the park with that, which raises an interesting point, because people who are permit holders in the park or have daily admission to the park are entitled to go into the open water.
yes, my question is, I'm not saying that they're not. My question is, since these are groups, these are sponsor groups, my question really is for Jeff, is that would there be any type of insurance required
Yes,
that holds us harmless?
yes, there is, and everybody has to sign a waiver.
So that has to be in here.
And would it make more sense maybe
Yes.
to have?
It is?
Item number 4.
Swimmer shall participate?
Well, that doesn't say that they have,
Right.
they should execute a waiver. There needs to be a certificate of insurance from the group demonstrating insurance.
And I'm
Yes,
wondering, would it make more sense to have this contract with the organization rather than with the individual?
No, this is a program that we're setting up on an experimental basis. We're not contracting. There are other groups who wanted to participate. For example, paddle yoga. And a woman wants to put her, and it's paddle yoga and something else.
Gary,
Yeah,
any group that holds a function on our park
has to have a certificate
has
of
to have,
insurance.
has to have a certificate of insurance.
That's in our
These
rules.
groups are also covered under that general policy of so doing.
Right.
And we don't allow them unless they demonstrate evidence of proper insurance.
And naming us as additional insurer.
Right.
Right.
I don't really think it needs to be in this resolution. You're discussing it on the record. It's our policy and practice in the park to do that with all groups. So they're covered as well.
Or the ones that use the pavilion.
Yeah, I
Obviously, it
understand.
couldn't hurt to put it in this resolution, but I don't think it's legally required, because we do this
It may not be
anyway
legally
for-
required, but would it be easier to not just do it by groups and just make everybody sign a waiver saying that it's done at their own risk and they should hold
They
the
have to,
park
yes.
harmless anyway?
They do.
First of all, the groups that are sponsoring the swim, the individual tri-groups, they're all going to have to demonstrate insurance and indemnify us, right?
Okay.
Second of all is the individual waiver. An individual participant has to sign a waiver. Okay, so there's two things going on. The group is indemnifying the park, and then the individual is signing the waiver.
Okay.
And they don't get their permit, their wristband permit, unless they do sign the waiver.
Okay.
So
I think the
we're
resolution as is sufficient to get going, if
My only comment then, in addition, is the fee. I'm thinking about, this is from 6 to 8 p.m. at night, because it seems, I'm guessing, like most of the users are people that are working during the day. So this isn't, it's not only because it's a slow time at the beach, but it's because it's convenient for them. And I'm thinking about when I go to a 5 o'clock a.m. exercise class at the YMCA, I'm not paying a discounted rate because it's 5 o'clock a.m. I'm doing it because that's what works best for my schedule. And to do a once a week exercise class at the YMCA, for example, as a member of the YMCA, paying $150 a month for a family membership, I pay $150 for a class, and that's once a week. This is giving somebody, I don't know how it will work, but 3 potential nights a week, and maybe you've organized it differently with each group, but I don't have that information. So I just think the $50 fee is really low, and I would recommend something more like,
Well, they may be paying their group a fee as well. This is
Right.
just to
Well-
get them in the water.
right, but that's like,
The Ride Tri Club is a $70 or $75 initiation fee, just to be a member,
Right.
This is going to be an additional fee. And it's sort of we're trying it out. We're trying to see if we can market, or promote our body of water, for greater use.
I think it's a great idea. I just think, maybe $100 would be more palatable, but
Yeah.
I just think it seems low.
It's from 6 to 8, but most people, like traditionally the Ride Tri Club, they what they call it, we splash at 7. So they don't even get into the water till 7.
Right, but you use the beach just like I would want to use the beach, like with my kids. It's still using the beach. And I'm not disagreeing. I just think that I don't know.
We were discussing, we've had three or four meetings and discussing what an appropriate fee would be to encourage people. Because right now, basically, they're not paying anything. And they're going on the beach without the lifeguards. And that's what they do. So this is actually going to bring in money that is not there, but we want to encourage it. This is not a money-making venture for the park. This is something that will hopefully enhance the image of the park throughout the county as a place to come, and we hope it's starting with tri-clubs doing this. The goal is to have clinics for people. It is not easy to swim in the open water. It's not like a pool. There are dangers, and then on the other side, there's a certain amount of exhilaration when you get out there. And we're hoping that people will see that, will want to participate, will learn how to participate. We want to have clinics for adults. We want to have clinics for children.
Of course, Gary, this is starting about halfway through the season.
It is, and that's why-
perhaps the 2019 season is the 100th.
Yeah, well, that's what we're looking at. At the end of the season, we're gonna analyze what worked, what didn't work, what could be improved, and we'll make modifications. There's gonna be training sessions, hopefully. The Rye Tri leaves from our beach. That's the focal point of the Rye Tri, is Rye Town Park. Not Rye Tri. I'm sorry, Westchester, the Westchester Triathlon, which is the largest event in the area. And our park is the focal point. It starts in our park on the beach. The bikes leave from the park. The runners end up in the park. And this is an enhancement for us to be able to say, this is a place where you can come and you can learn how to swim open water. You can have clinics, and there are other things. Other people have already called for things such as, can we have kayaks there? Can we have this and that? Other things that will be beach-centric, and hopefully then we can think of things that will be park-centric, so that, people look, when people think of this area, they're not going to just think of Playland. They're going to think of Rye Town Park as a central place for people to come and for them to have enjoyment. And the whole thing is about fun.
Can we bump this up a little bit so that everybody's comfortable? You said that the 50 was fairly arbitrary. Can we make it $65?
Well, I would hate to do that at this point, especially midway through the season. I would prefer to leave it at 50, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see how many people join. Once you start charging people, they may say, I don't want to pay that. I've had it for free before. So we want to keep it reasonable for people to be able to do it.
Then let's, if we may say that this is a mid-season rate. This is
Well,
experimental.
it is because it's,
I don't want people saying if we decide to put it up
Right.
substantially next year that
I think
I
the
don't have
triathlons, I remember reading, are like one of the most expensive sports that you can undertake. So I think these are professionals who have enough money to pay a permit fee. They're going to pay it. They like swimming there. I like
they're not professionals.
not professional triathletes, professional
People.
working people. So I agree. If we can classify it as a mid season.
The original
fee.
draft of this said from May to the end of the season. This draft only says for the 2018 to run through September 30th, 2018.
How about if we say, second whereas clause, the program shall be established on an experimental basis for the remainder of the 2018 season.
I'll agree with that compromise. Okay? Russ, you have anything to say? Okay. May I have a motion and a second with that amendment?
Second.
Call the roll, please, Debbie.
Commissioner Faleka has left. I'll
Yes.
note that, absent. Commissioner Rosenberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Salanitro,
Yes, as amended.
Commissioner Cohn,
yes.
Commissioner Hurd.
Yes.
President Zuckerman.
Yes. I didn't say goodbye to Fritz. He had another event he had to attend. Considering a piggyback renewal of the Village of Rybrook bid with a tree contract with Central Tree Service. Debbie, tell us what this is about.
Debbie, you're on.
Sorry,
Debbie, you're
the
on.
tree
The trees.
back renewal.
Yes, thank you. The about 6 months ago, we passed a resolution to piggyback on a contract signed by the Village of Rybrook with Central Tree Service to handle the cutting down and trimming of trees at Rydtown Park. Because that's a piggyback, we must adhere to all the conditions of that contract, including the condition where it ended at the end of the Village of Rybrook's year and had to be renewed. And that is just what's happened. So the contract ended. There were provisions for 2 or 3 one-year renewals. The Village of Rybrook has exercised that renewal, and we would wish to do so as well.
Further, may I have a motion and a second?
Just one question, if I may?
Sure.
Yeah, I assume, Paul, that the village took it out to bid to begin with.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I have a couple of comments, too. I think yes, I seconded it.
Thank you.
Okay. I think in the first whereas clause, we should strike periodic arborist because we would not be using this contract as an arborist. This contract is simply for tree services and stump removal. And I think the final whereas should not have the amount. This is a unit price bid. I would like the whereas to be for an amount not to exceed available budgetary allowances instead of the $52,000. So available budgetary allowances on the unit price basis, because it is a unit price. We don't have $52,000 to spend, so we should just spend what we
42.
have. He's got $52,000.
Oh, the total, that's what I said.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. Josh?
Fine.
Debbie, you got the first part with the arborist?
Yes, determined that Right Child Park is in need of a periodic arborist. That's coming
I would
out.
just say in need of tree services.
Don't you need, Benny, don't you
Yes.
need, before you cut a tree down, don't you need an arborist evaluation?
It's a
before you cut
conflict to have, generally, it's viewed as a conflict to have an arborist who also works as for the tree company. It's like, I remember
Yeah.
Mr. Graziano from Cox Graziano said, I can't work for the ambulance company. It's a conflict of interest. So I,
Happily, we have Bartlett Trees as our arborist, and so I think it's an excellent idea.
shout out to
Thank you.
Mr. Graziano. Yeah, so the arborist should be independent of the tree removal company. It just it's cleaner that way. Plus, and the contract doesn't talk about any arborist work provided by him. That's why I think it's better to not have it than to have it.
As amended, a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Rosenberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Salanitro, Commissioner Cohn,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurd,
Yes.
President Zuckerman.
Yes. The next two items are resolutions authorizing a grant application to be submitted to the, through the Westchester Urban County Consortium for a community development block grant. One is for ADA accessible ramps, and the other is for bathhouse, to make the bathhouse interior ADA compliant. We'll do them one at a time, but they're very, very similar. May I have a motion and a second, and then we will have discussion?
Second?
Discussion, please? Hearing, do you want to?
Yes. It's not clear if the city of Rye needs to have signed something called an urban county cooperation agreement in order for Rye Town Park to do this. We, the commissioners from the city of Rye, are prepared to vote yes for this, but our vote yes does not mean that the city of Rye will or will not ultimately be able to sign that agreement.
Understood. We authorize the grant writers to go forward with this either at the last or the previous meeting, and we are hopeful that either one of two things will happen. Either the city of Rye will join the consortium, or if the city of Rye does not join the consortium, then they will nevertheless be able to process the commission application in the same way that they process applications for not-for-profit organizations. So with that understanding, we're happy to go forward because the application deadline is June the 29th, which is right around the corner. So unless there's no further comment on the first resolution 18-30 for beach access ramps and parking and ADA compliance, please call the roll.
Commissioner Rosenberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Commissioner Salanitro,
Yes.
Commissioner Cohn,
Yes, as
Commissioner-
reserved.
I'm sorry,
As reserved.
Commissioner Hurd,
Likewise, yes, as reserved.
President Zuckerman.
Yes, and the minutes will, the vote won't, but the minutes will reflect the reservation. And the next item, Resolution 1831, authorizing the grant application, the CDBG grant application for bathhouse interior ADA improvements. May I have a motion and a second?
Second?
with the same reservations on behalf of the City of Rye representatives, please call the roll.
Commissioner Rosenberg.
Yes.
Commissioner Salanitro.
Yes.
Commissioner Cohn.
Yes.
Commissioner Hurd.
Yes.
President Zuckerman.
Yes. And appointment of a committee of stakeholders to develop possible solution to Rye Town Park's parking challenges. We discussed this previously, and two of the members will be Russ Gold and Benny Salanicho. Debbie, you had inquiries, and
Yes, Katie Cabersi, who is a member of the Friends of Rye Town Park Board, and also is one of the leaders of the initiative to found a Rye Town Park Conservancy, will also participate.
is that committee, does anybody have any problem with the makeup of the committee?
Oh, and Commissioner Hurd said.
Well, that's why I was asking, because I didn't know the answer to that. And Commissioner Hurd. So Commissioner Hurd, Commissioner Salanicho, Katie Koberski, and Russ Gold will be the parking, I don't know what to call it,
Challenge.
Parking Solutions Committee, to work with our consultant.
And it was also suggested that the last task force, Joan Feinstein, was a very valuable member, so perhaps we can reach out to her to see if she'd be willing to participate.
Well, one of us could.
Should be here for your meeting, I thought.
She will be here for the
town
meeting, right. And we will ask her. We do not promise any particular result, but we shall. Appointment of a design review committee. The restaurant agreement calls for a design review committee to review the design plans of the restaurant. And my suggestion, I think Debbie already spoke to Benny and Lisa Easton, that the design review committee consists of those two individuals.
Can I yield my,
No.
to Commissioner Hurd? Would you like to be in that committee?
We want an engineer too.
Yeah, but I don't know. The engineers don't have any good looks about design. Commissioner Hurd?
Well, I was just going to ask a question, not answer your question. The design review. So all of the work will be internal to the restaurant, is that? So I know.
There may be some, I'm not sure, because I haven't reviewed, the plans with any kind of an architecture eye, so I don't know.
I guess my thought would be that since the majority of, and this is based on my knowledge of discussions with three guys in the restaurant negotiations, it is, the bulk is interior, which is not landmarked. Maybe we bring Lisa in when necessary and not use her on a regular basis.
She's volunteered for this, not with charge.
I do not expect her to work for free.
I thought she had volunteered for it.
Maybe she volunteered to do it.
She volunteered to be paid for it. No.
Different way than we volunteered.
We could ask her. We could clarify.
I'll let you have that
And then-
conversation with her.
And
The other-
I agree with Emily. I think we need to keep costs to a minimum on this.
No, I agree. It was my understanding that she had volunteered to work with the committee. I may be mistaken, but we will find out. And so we will table this item to the next meeting, although by the next meeting, hopefully, most of it will be built and approved.
Yeah.
So,
Or we may have ad hoc appointments to the committee.
we may have to do this by telephone. So we will table that item till the next meeting, and that completes our agenda. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. 7:14.